Hello and welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into anything, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/Drive-In Double Feature podcast. One of my favorite pastimes is actually listening in and eavesdropping on people's conversations. So I was at Jersey Mike's the other day eating my sandwich and
Yeah.
and I heard these two people talking. It's like, you guys heard about this drive-in double feature podcast? And I was like, if only they knew who was sitting right behind them, then they would just be in shock.
You didn't reveal
And,
yourself?
well, no, I mean, you know my voice, so I didn't say anything. So that's how I kept my anonymity.
Oh, okay, good, good. You gotta
And,
keep it
and
strong.
and they're like, it's only $5 a month. You can see all kinds of content over there. They can listen to Nathan Ryan do some games, talk about some fun discussions. There's so much. I'm glad I spent $5 a month over there,
Hmm.
and it felt nice hearing that. So don't worry though, all that great stuff that person was letting their other friend know about is only $5 a month, and it doesn't affect any regular content whatsoever. But today we're going to be talking about 1989's Violent Cop, and that is written, directed, and starring Takeshi Kitano. This movie is actually his directorial debut. He's actually directed and starred in a lot of movies.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was just thinking about that. Like after this one, he made a ton of movies. That became like his main deal.
yeah, he so his main profession is that he was a comedian. He was
Hmm.
part of a comedic duo, and they would, they made a big deal. They were pretty much around since like the 70s and 80s, and the original director for this movie was dropped out because like the star that he wanted was unavailable to, so he just said, I'm going to bow out of this movie. Takeshi Kitano, he was able to jump in and take over the role of director and star. And this movie actually was, believe it or not, supposed to be a comedy.
What?
So I don't know what it was supposed to be or what, but this was really supposed to be a comedy movie. So I'm guessing that's how he got onto this, because if you don't know him by the name, you probably have seen him at some point
Hmm.
and one of these other movies or other media. The thing that I recognized him first from is probably Battle Royale. Like, and I don't
Okay.
know if you ever watched that movie, but
Mm-mm.
he's in that one. He plays a pretty prominent role in that movie, so that's probably the first thing I recognized him from. If you guys ever watched the show MXC in America,
There we go. That's what I know him from.
that was his show. It was called Takeshi's Castle, where
Yeah.
it was an obstacle course, and they were kind of doing like banter with each other. Just kind of like, it was funny. People getting hurt on the obstacle
Hmm.
course type of thing. And they brought it over to America and made it like an even bigger parody. But anyway, like, he did that. He's been in all kinds of other movies. He's been in horror movies, gangster movies. He was the main antagonist in the Yakuza 6 video game.
Yeah, which I think is crazy.
They used his likeness. So he's been around for a while, and
Hmm.
he's pretty well known as a director at this point. But this one was kind of like his, I'm stepping out of my comedic shoes here. I'm going to go in
Hmm.
and become a dramatic actor, because the original script, as I said, was supposed to be a comedy. So he actually rewrote about 90% of this movie. And the only thing that they kept was just like the setting, that they were cops, and the names of the characters, pretty much.
That's crazy. Why did he do it? He just wanted to do something different.
He wanted to be taken seriously as an actor. And this
Okay.
was like this was something that he really wanted to happen, which, I mean, when you watch a movie like this is not a comedy. I'd want to make that like, this is far
No.
from it. So it's a very depressing movie, and he definitely is not. He's definitely very serious in this one. But the thing, if you notice, like in a lot of the dialogue and stuff, I say that he wrote the screenplay for this movie. Apparently, a lot of this movie was improvised,
Oh my
and
God.
because he really like, and they said it would frustrate everybody on set because he would basically throw out the script and just like, I want genuine reactions, and like he's just never directed a movie before, just like,
Yeah. God. Good
and
thing it came out good because that's a recipe. If it was a bad movie, he wouldn't work anymore.
yeah. So this is one where he definitely well, I mean, for one, you got to really kind of play it by the context of like where this movie is set and
Mhm.
everything, because at this point, this is 1989, so there's really no. This has been done before, rogue cop movies, where it's
Mhm.
like a cop that's not playing by the rules and taking matters into their own hands. But when you go to somewhere like Japan, where it's like they're so heavily rule orientated and they're doing
Mhm.
everything by the books, and it's just like seeing somebody like this is an extreme version of that. Like they're like, oh my god, like I cannot believe what this guy's doing, and it's just
Mhm.
it. I believe it was a real shocker to see something like this. But one thing I did want to share though is that during like the screening of this movie, apparently he went and secretly attended one of the showings, and apparently when he appeared on screen for the first time, everybody started laughing because
Just his
they're
look
used.
is funny.
Well, it's just they're used to seeing him being like the funny guy, and
Yeah.
so he said it was like he was horribly depressed, and so after that, and like
Oh my God.
so he said for the next 10 years I had to play gangsters, murderers, and rapists before anybody would take me seriously as an actor.
Oh my God.
That's kind of where this movie starts. And it kind of sets the tone really early for this one because at the beginning of this movie, there's a homeless man that's just sitting there minding his own business, eating. And
Hmm.
all of a sudden, there's these punk teenagers that come up and they just start roughing him up for no reason, just because they think it's fun.
Hmm.
And after that, they kind of beat the crap out of this homeless guy. And one of the kids goes home, and we watch him go home. And then all of a sudden, Takeshi shows up and is like, hey, I'm gonna go talk to your son. And the mother's like, wait, who are you? Like, I'm the cops. It's fine. It'll just be a minute.
I'm just talking to
And
him.
he goes upstairs and he's like, so you're gonna own up to what you did? And he's like, what did I do? And he just starts like beating the crap out of this kid, like
Yeah.
just
That's his answer
like
to everything.
that's his answer. Like hitting is gonna solve everything, and
Hmm.
that's what he does. He starts smacking this kid around where this kid's bleeding a little bit, and uh, basically tell him like, hey, if you don't come to the police station tomorrow morning, you and your friends, like I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna finish the job, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then and that's kind of like this like cycle where we kind of run into, because that's you can't just do that. You can't just walk into somebody's house and just start beating them up, but like
Hmm.
asking for a confession. So there's a new police chief there, and he's forced to go in there and deal with the consequences of what he did. And they're like, hey, you got to write out an apology letter because this
Yeah.
ain't gonna fly. And he
But
even says, he's like, off record, I like what you're doing, but we can't do it that way.
exactly. Yeah. That he says, I like your style, but we can't do that. And for the rest of the movie, this man writes so many written apologies for the things he does.
And it's a wonder like how he's able to keep his job for that long. I mean, at this
Yeah.
point, because they even say the new police chief that shows up, they're like, oh well, the reason why I'm even here is because the last one just got tired of dealing with you so much.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it just kind of like, okay, well, if this guy is such a problem, like why is he still there?
Yeah.
Just,
Why'd they wait so long to force him to resign?
yeah, but they do start giving like kind of glimmers of his human side, because he does have a sister who is, I guess, developmentally challenged, I guess would be the
I
word for
yeah,
it.
I guess so. Yeah, because I guess they has like a montage of them like going places, and he's very protective of her.
Yeah, he's very much like, treats her like a little sister, like a little kid almost, and just kind
Hmm.
of very protective of her because she lives with him too, I believe. So,
Hmm.
and keeps her really close at all times. The other plot point is that there's a new rookie that just shows up to the police station, and
Hmm.
he's kind of paired up with him. And same thing we kind of saw in the last one. He's just horrified at this guy's methods because
Hmm.
they arrive at this one house that's like there's a domestic dispute going on, and this guy's just going crazy with a baseball
Hmm.
bat. And the guy is just like going on a rampage, and Takeshi's like, all right, we need to go catch that guy, and the rookie's driving, and he's like, go down that road. He's like, but that's a one-way road. He's like, who cares, just go.
Yeah, and he doesn't listen to him. And like they go down like the one way and they get blocked off. And you can it's funny though. Takeshi doesn't get as mad at his partner as you'd expect. Like I'd imagine it would be like training day. You know, Denzel Washington's treating Ethan Hawke like garbage. But no, I mean I think Takeshi does care for his partner in some way. But I mean, of course, he gets upset whenever he does it, when he's too much following the rules just a little too much.
Yeah, he's very much like, yeah, he really does not care about how he gets this
Mhm.
person. He will do quite literally anything.
Also, that domestic abuse scene is crazy because that dude takes on like three cops and knocks them down to the ground.
There's one where he's got an aluminum bat, and there's
Hmm.
another one chasing him,
Hmm.
and this guy just like creams him with the aluminum bat, where like the
Hmm.
guy's head just like splits open, and he just starts like
Hmm.
that was gnarly.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it lives to the name violent cop. That's for sure.
Yeah, so that there was that scene. One thing I do want to mention, I think is kind of funny is they go to like a cafe or like a bar sort of where
Hmm.
they're playing. He's playing like some type of slot machine or some type of gambling machine,
Hmm.
and the bar owner, I guess, was like a former criminal, and
Hmm.
was like, hey, we really appreciate you coming here. Here, let me make up for your gambling losses that you lost today. And he starts giving them money, and and Takeshi's like, no, no, give it to that guy, like give it to the
Yeah,
rookie,
yeah. He's like, no,
and
no, no, that would be illegal. Give it to him.
he's like, no, no, no.
Yeah, and the rookie the whole time is like, we shouldn't be gambling. You know that's illegal, right? That'll get you fired.
Yeah, so that's his one drawback, like one of his like vices, that he is a gambling addict, and so much
Mhm.
so that he actually owes a lot of people money
Yeah,
for his gambling debts.
and he's constantly broke. Like they have to take a taxi at one point, and he just pushes the taxi debt onto his partner, and then the partner pushes it onto somebody else because he doesn't have money. There's a lot of that.
Yeah. Um, but in that domestic scene, going back to that, the guy is on foot, and this guy is crazy because he gets all this stuff happens to him. Like he gets hit by a car, and they're like, "Is he dead yet?" I don't know. And then he starts getting up again, and then
Hmm.
Takeshi has to hit him with a car again, and
Well,
then he
yeah.
starts, and then yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I like it because it's funny because he hits him the first time and the partner's like, "You didn't have to hit him. Now he's dead." And then he's not dead. He gets right back up, and they have
Yeah,
to
he's
hit
like,
him one more
does he
time.
look dead to you?
Yeah. But that's part of the thing where he's a little protective of his partner because he does come and he almost hits him through the window of the car, but Takeshi does bring him down to protect him a little bit. That chase scene's really interesting, and this movie I feel like is intentionally slow, and I not in a negative or anything, but it's very like it's laid back for a movie like this. Like that whole chase scene has a really light jazz song playing under it, and it's like it's not cut super fast, and there's a lot of that in this movie. It's a lot of like slow thinking moments, like you see just Takeshi just like kind of sitting there, or way later there's a scene where he's interrogating a guy in the bathroom and he's slapping him. He slaps him like a good 30 times over and over and over. It's like, what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? It's
That
interesting.
that yeah, they pointed that it was 23 times he slapped him,
Gotcha.
and I got to say, like I don't I think he was really slapping that guy
I
too,
think so too.
because if you watch that scene, I mean, because there's no camera cuts in that scene, like he's just like bam, 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 like,
Hmm.
and that guy's face gets like all swollen and red,
Mhm.
like in that scene. So I'm like, he's actually slapping this
Yeah,
guy like
and
as
I
hard as he can.
and I think that's what makes it such an like a scene that stood out to me because it's just the fact how real it feels. The camera sits on it, and he just keeps slapping him, and then like and nothing's happening because Takeshi's just like asking him over and over again, and the dude getting slapped is not giving him any information. He's like, "I will sit here and slap you all day till you tell me what I need to know." It's good.
Yeah, because that's one thing they do. They bust a drug deal
Hmm.
that's going on in the men's bathroom. Like this drug dealer that's known for selling drugs is trying to get these like businessmen like
Hmm.
some drugs, and he knows right away, and he's like, okay, where'd you get the drugs from? And he's just slapping him, and then that's where he finds out that it was his partner, or like one of the other people in the department was a part of this whole operation, because that's kind of like the thing where like they bribe the guy and he kind of looks the other way type of thing.
Exactly. So it's a whole inside cop conspiracy. So he has to break the rules in order to take him down. A classic cop storyline.
There's a bad guy in here called Kiyohiro, who's kind of like, I guess, like, a fixer or whatever, like
Hmm.
the main bad guy that's like the number one guy for like the main boss, pretty much.
Yes. Yeah.
And his whole deal is that he is a cold-blooded killer. He does not care about human lives at all.
Hmm.
Because at the beginning, that's where he ends up killing the guy that was within the police station that was taking the bribes, because the boss man ordered like to tie up some loose end type of things. And the guy earlier who had gotten slapped like 100 times, he ends up like taking him onto the building of a parking garage, and he just starts kicking him over and over until the guy is just hanging there by his fingers. And then he just breaks out a switchblade knife and just starts slicing his fingers until the guy lets go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very gruesome. And there's a scene way later where that same character pulls a gun out on Takeshi, has the gun on him, and just kind of a scuffle happens, and he accidentally just shoots like a random woman in the street, head blown off, and it's like it's very brutal, and like it's like, oh, an innocent bystander is dead now. He couldn't care less. He doesn't care. They just shot
Neither one of
someone.
them cared.
That is true. Yeah, both of them walk away from that
Well,
situation.
when that happened, that was my like, oh my god,
Oh,
like
yeah.
gasp moment. I was just like, oh my god, like I was not expecting that at all. And
Yeah.
that he there's a lot of moments like that. Kiyohiro, he well, actually, I should go back a little further. Is that one thing that does happen to Takeshi's sister is that she does get taken advantage a lot by men because of her
Hmm.
condition. How to say it? Because like they said, like this guy was like in his house. Apparently, like, they just had sex together,
Hmm.
and Takeshi just like starts like, oh, like, you gonna, like, you screwing around with my sister? Like, what's your deal? You're gonna marry her now? Like, you better do it.
Hmm.
This is
It's
like,
like kicking him in like the back of the knee the whole way, taking him to the bus stop.
yeah. So it's a scene where he's like really trying to intimidate this guy, basically saying, like, hey, like, don't screw with my sister type of thing.
Hmm.
And that does kind of play into the movie later, because Takeshi is trying really hard to pin these crimes on the mob boss and Kiyohiro, and so much so, like I said, he's just like William Peterson, where he will stop at nothing. Like, he breaks into the guy's house like without a search warrant,
Hmm.
and he's just like, "What are you doing here? Like, you're gonna start screwing around with me for no reason?" And he's like, "Oh, I heard that there's some dope." He's like, "There's no dope here. What are you talking about?" And he just pulls out like a syringe and some drugs, and like throws it on his bed. It's like, there it is, right there.
Yeah, well, the funniest part of that movie, that one is that I guess that character ends up being gay, and there's a man in the bed, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
you have a good taste." And I was like, "Okay,
yeah,
interesting line."
yeah. That's the thing. Like they made him gay for some reason. I don't know, but it's
Yeah,
just.
whatever.
But yeah, that was like another layer to the character they did. But one thing I didn't like is just like so like I said, they were trying really hard to pin these crimes on Kirihiro, and he was just like not having it. He's like, we're gonna get some revenge on Takeshi. So what they do is they kidnap his sister,
Hmm.
and they bring him back. They bring her back to their warehouse, and they just take turns raping her.
Yeah,
And
and she
but they
doesn't
keep
care.
right.
That's what's like depressing. She's just like there taking it, and they shoot her up with drugs and
Well,
stuff.
like yeah, like she just doesn't have like the mental comprehension of what's going on, type of thing. And
Yeah.
but the thing is, so like is because you like you said he was gay, but like they keep talking about like how gay they are, like while they're screwing this woman. Like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you're doing such a bad job because you're so queer, and it's like
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
it's
okay.
very odd, like why they like added in like those bits of dialogue. But yeah, that's what
Hmm.
they do. They're raping her and they're shooting her up with drugs, and so much so that she ends up becoming like a huge drug fiend later in the movie, where she's just
Hmm.
like desperately wanting drugs.
Hmm.
And um but yeah, that this does kind of catch up though to Takeshi, because Takeshi does take Kirihiro into the police station. And probably like my favorite scene in the movie, I would say, is like the scene where he is interrogating him, and like he is beating the absolute crap out of Kirihiro, because like his
Hmm.
face is just all bloody and everything. And Takeshi like leaves like an open knife like on a bench, like just waiting for him to and like he's like, even Kirihiro is like, you are such you're such a scumbag. Like,
Yeah.
like yeah, because he's just waiting for him to like just give him any reason to just murder him like on the spot.
Yeah.
Because Takeshi pulls out his gun even and just like points it point blank at him, and just fires a bullet like right next to his head, just barely
Yeah.
missing him.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that he didn't kill him because that he almost does, but the other cops end up do rushing in and they do take him off of him.
Yeah, it's a very brutal scene, and because of that, they're finally like, all right, you're fired. So they do finally fire Takeshi. And at first he's not really that bothered by it.
That's what I thought was so funny. There's a whole sequence where he's just chilling through, like he's like, "Oh, I'm fired," and he goes like to a baseball, like he goes and
A
hits some
batting
a
cage.
batting cage. Thank you. He goes to a batting cage and just hits some baseballs, and it's a pretty long sequence of him doing this. He's also great at it. He's doing a great job.
Yeah, he's doing a good job.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just thought that was funny. Like they just like, I don't care. Like I'm just gonna go out and hit some balls. And
exactly.
but but yeah, he does eventually. Once he finds out what happens to his sister, he does track him down. And
Hmm.
at this point, he's just like, I don't care. I'm gonna kill this guy. So the final sequence of the movie is him going to their warehouse and cornering Kirihiro, and he ends up murdering all the other guys. Well, no, I think Kirihiro actually kills everybody else, and then
Mm.
he gets Kirihiro's down on the ground, and he's just firing his gun at Takeshi, and like Takeshi's taking all these bullets to the body. He's just like not
Yeah.
stopping at all. It
Hmm.
doesn't break its stride at all, and they're just firing bullets at each other at point blank range. And eventually he does kill him, Kirihiro.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah. That his reveal is really good though, because he Kirihiro doesn't kill every one of them. There's one guy that ends up running away, and you think he makes it out, and he opens like the big doors to like this warehouse, and of course Takeshi's standing there and just shoots him as soon as he sees him, so he doesn't get his chance to leave. But yeah, that shootout scene is great, especially with the ending. Of course, we're talking about another movie where the main character just ends up dying, but at least there
yeah,
was a resolution before that.
No, yeah, but well, before that though, I mean, like I said, his sister had become so
Mhm.
hooked, dependent on drugs. Like after Kirihiro is dead, like laying on the ground, his
Mhm.
sister just like starts like rifling through his pockets, like I need some more, I need more stuff. Like this is,
Mhm.
and Takeshi's just seeing his sister, and and he's like, basically, he just like mercy kills her, like
Yeah.
just kills her like in point blank range, and he just doesn't say anything, no emotion or anything, just like bam, like I just shoots his sister.
Mhm.
Then as he's walking out, like you said, he does get shot as well. But he, they do a lot, and they're like Takeshi. I forgot to mention too, like Takeshi actually goes over and like murders the mob boss too.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's like this whole big chain of events. But anyway, Takeshi's dead, and how the movie ends, sort of like the last movie a little bit,
Yeah.
but except instead of him becoming like Takeshi, his rookie goes over. He's been invited by the new mob boss, and there's just like, hey, like we need a new cop in on this deal. Are you in? And he's just like, I'm no sucker. I'm taking that deal. Just like,
Exactly. Yeah, and he's like, I won't make a mistake like the last guy. Uh, yeah.
so it's like a whole vicious cycle, just like keeps continuing.
Yeah, it's an interesting movie because like yeah, it's a different look at a vicious cycle versus like a bad cop. He like basically creating another bad cop. Where here it's almost like Takeshi. This movie,
Was a good cop the whole
yeah,
time.
yeah, has a better outlook. The movie's like, oh yeah, that's our idea of what a decent cop is: someone who wants justice versus like somebody who's crooked and would take money from the mafia. No cop is good in this movie for one, but I guess it's an interesting outlook at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I was not expecting that type of ending. I was
Yeah.
so, but yeah, it ends like you said, like a real downer note, and just for some reason too, like freeze frames on the mob boss's secretary, which I was like,
That was an
I
odd
don't,
choice.
which I'm like, who is this girl? I have no idea. I thought maybe they were like something they weren't telling us. Maybe I don't know, but
Setting up a sequel.
maybe there's a sequel to Violent Cop. I don't think there is, but
No.
anyway, uh, yeah, that's pretty much the whole gist of this movie. I really, I it's a very subdued movie, like in terms of like the tone, like you said, like it's
Mhm.
very like slice of life of a violent cop type of thing.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not how you'd expect it to be.
yeah, it's not like there's like they're building to this big case. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, this is just how he handles each one of these.
Hmm.
Um, I liked it. I did. I would have maybe liked a little more of like weight sometimes. I felt like sometimes
Hmm.
they kind of they moved through some of the moments like kind of too fast in my opinion. Like I was maybe wanting there to be like a little more emotional weight to some of these scenes.
No, I agree. No, so I did like this movie. I thought it was a good movie. But I don't think it was perfect or like an amazing
No,
movie. It had some issues. Like you said, I feel like it's weird because this movie's almost 2 hours, but I would have liked to known these characters maybe a little bit more. Maybe it was too focused on being slow and contemplative over like having true like rich characters, I guess.
I would have liked to have seen or at least given some type of exposition on like how he turned this way, or like, oh yeah, he used to play by the rules, but after everyone kind of turned on him. Because I mean, even when they revealed that his friend or whatever was in on the fix the whole time,
Hmm.
he was kind of like he seemed surprised by it, or like, oh wow, like I didn't realize he was a part of that type of thing, even though the cop was like, I think you already know who did this type of
Hmm.
thing, the crooked guy. So I don't know. I mean, I would have liked, you said, it would have been nice to be a little more emotionally invested to some of these characters. I probably would have put it to another level, but as it is, there are some great sequences in this movie. Um,
Yeah.
the performances were good. I liked them. Takeshi is pretty believable in my opinion
Hmm.
as this role. So it actually made me kind of interested to see more of his work like that just to see how he's evolved because this is his debut movie, and
Hmm.
I want to say like um, he got like the Caesar Award, I think it was, or like the for one of the other movies he did called Hanabi, which is just
Oh
fireworks.
yes, yeah, he won some award for that
He won a
one.
pretty big award, which only like a couple of Japanese directors have actually won. So,
Yes, yeah.
so I'm really interested to see like how he's evolved as a director, like in some of his later movies. But for his debut movie, I thought it was pretty good. I liked it.
No, I agree. I think it makes up for any of the faults that I said by just being a unique movie. Never really seen anything like it, and just a crazy strong central performance. Takeshi's fantastic in that role. So no, I think it's a movie well worth watching. And like you said, I've never seen any of his other movies. Always been meaning to, and I think this was a good start. Might as well start with the debut, and it'd be fun to see where it goes from here.
Definitely.
Hmm.
Well, I think that's gonna do it for Violent Cop. And we're going to go back to our next picks for next week, Nathan. So, what are they going to be?
All right, Ryan. On Tuesday, we're going to be talking about 1974's Massacre Mafia Style. And that one is streaming right now on Tubi. But Ryan, what are we going to be covering on Thursday?
So, Nathan, it's this movie is going to be starting the month of August. So,
Hmm.
Nathan, what is the number one thing people are thinking about in the month of August?
My birthday.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what they're thinking about.
No, I don't know. What are people thinking about in August?
Well, Nathan, of course, everyone's thinking about Elliot Gould.